Hello, I hope you're doing well today. My name is Ian Green, and I'm the musician for Music Dreams and also for Ian J. Green. And today it's my pleasure to be looking at Unit 5, which is whole tone scales, which is a set of units I'm organizing as tutorials to supplement the Intermediate Theory Elementary Music Rudiments theory book written by Mark Sarnecki. This is a really helpful set of tutorials that I hope you will find enjoyable and intriguing. And today we're going to be looking at whole tone scales. Let me share my screen and I'll explain some of this a little bit more in depth. Now, as you know, we can create major and minor scales, and there are tutorials on those topics, and also chromatic scales. So whole tone scales is another type of music theory that composers use when wanting to create more of a dreamy kind of scale. And just like the theory concept for chromatic scales, in which chromatic scales use semitones entirely, or half steps, for the entire scale ascending and descending, whole tone scales use whole tones throughout an entire scale sequence. Let's go over to the piano and I will play one of the examples of a whole tone scale. If we were to start on C, we would go up to D, then to E, but then to F sharp, then to G sharp, then to A sharp, and then to C. Now you might be wondering, how does it work to go from A sharp and then to C? And in another tutorial that I'm going to be creating soon and that you can also research on this tutorial set in this theory topic, I'm going to be discussing what a diminished third is. But basically, it's an enharmonic major second. So instead of writing a flat and then going to the natural, B flat to C, one rule that we have to use when writing a whole tone scale is if you start with sharps, you have to use sharps all the way through the scale, or you can also use flats as well. So a whole tone scale basically uses whole tones all the way through the scale, but there is also one diminished third interval somewhere within the scale, depending on where the notes travel. Something that helps to create the correct set of notes is that, just like with the chromatic scale, we have to start and end on the same note. And in order to do that, a diminished third is used to alter the notes so that we end on the correct starting and ending note. Another interval that we can see in the chromatic scale, the whole tone scale starting on C sharp is right here from D sharp to F. C sharp, D sharp, but then a whole tone goes up to F. Then we can go to G, A, then to B, and then to C sharp. So there's a whole tone from C sharp to D sharp, then a diminished third from D sharp to F, and then a whole tone from F to G, a whole tone from G to A whole tone from A to B, and a whole tone from B to C sharp. We can also create the same whole tone scale using D flat as the starting note. D flat, whole tone up to E flat up to F, F up to G, G up to A up to B, and then there's a diminished third from B up to D flat. So something that's important to see is that a whole tone scale always uses 6 different letter names. It's important not to enharmonically change the starting note. So if you start on D flat, you have to end on D flat, or any subsequent note in the scale, as an example. It's also important to not mix sharps or flats together. You have to use either sharps or you have to use either flats, but not both. That's what makes the writing of a whole tone scale different than a chromatic scale. With a chromatic scale, you can mix and match sharps and flats, but with a whole tone scale, you cannot. As well, every whole tone scale contains the same number of notes. We have 6 different notes and then the ending or first note. If you wish to, we could call it loosely the tonic. And since the notes of a whole tone scale are spaced evenly, even though it might look strange to write a diminished third somewhere in the musical notation when you're writing the scale, you'll see how the way that the notes are spaced out on the piano, it looks like whole tones are written for each note. The theory that's most important is to start and end on the first note of the scale. That is probably the most crucial tip. I do hope that this tutorial has been helpful. And before we go, let's write a couple of whole tone scales. I'm going to be looking at page 30 in the book. In question 1, what we want to do is add accidentals to the following notes to create a whole tone scale starting on D. So in this case, they have given us specific notes in which we have to change the accidentals as we go. So we start on D, and then a whole tone scale, a whole tone up above D is E. But then the next note we have to go to is here, and it could be F sharp, but it has to be, in this case, G flat, because a G is given in the question. So we're going to put it a flat beside the G. Next, we're going to go from G flat up a whole tone to A flat and put a flat here. Then we'll go up a whole tone to B flat. Then a whole tone from B flat goes to C, which we don't have to change anything in the book. And then we can go a whole tone from C to D. So you can see here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different notes, and then the starting note is the same here too. So we go D, E, G flat, A flat, B flat, C, and then D. And there's an interval of a diminished third between E and G flat. Let's do this next one, starting on E flat, all the way down here. Now the whole tone above E flat is F, then a whole tone above F is G, a whole tone above G is A whole tone above A is B, a whole tone above B could be C sharp, but instead we have to draw D flat, and then a whole tone above D flat is E flat. So you can see here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different note names, and then the starting note and ending note are the same. So in this case, the diminished third actually occurs here. I do hope this tutorial has been helpful. I look forward to seeing you next time for another tutorial. And until then, I hope you have a wonderful day and continue enjoying your music. As well, I look forward to sharing other tutorials in the future. So if you have a chance to like and subscribe, you'll see when new tutorials come available. And until then, bye for now.